Whether devilish or conscious movement, what's your contribution on the music? Entrepreneurship is not as loose.
Our last artist this week performed at our Vibrant Brampton festival. Matthew Jones, also known as Testament, has been using his natural speaking and performance abilities to empower audiences for over 15 years. Testament has performed all across Canada and internationally in South America and Europe. He has appeared on breakfast television, CP24, and MTV. He has shared stages with the likes of Talib Kweli, Nature by Nature, Biz Markie, Jizza of the Wu-Tang Clan, Cardinal Official, and more. As an artist and entrepreneur, Testament is co-founder of the Peace Movement, people everywhere actually coexisting equally. He loves to use his passion for music and art as a way to communicate with the world. Testament started his creative journey at 8 years old when he was gifted a journal.
And I got to give a shout out to all of the mothers out there, because when I was 6 years old, my mother gave me a diary. So I started writing out my ideas and stuff like that. You know, I would just write foolish things, girls I had crushes on, about gifts that I wanted, and so on and so forth. But then that evolved into a journal. So I was actually just documenting my days as I went along. But by the time I was 10, 11 years old, I had a full-out poetry book, and it was a place where I felt free on those blank sheets of paper. And around the age of 13, 14 is when I fell in love with hip-hop music, and I haven't looked back since. You know, my mind and my world started seeing things in rhyme, and that was the way I started approaching the world.
That's the first one right there, Declaration of Rights. We got to start it off properly.
Testament finds his inspiration in his faith and working with children in the community.
I actually have a lot of sources of inspiration. Firstly, for me, it's definitely my faith. You know, I am a believer, and that's a huge source of inspiration for me. I'm also blessed to be a parent. I have 4 children, and they're a huge source of inspiration. Also, a company that I'm a part of called Peace, people everywhere actually coexisting equally. I'm the co-founder, and we are blessed to see thousands and thousands of youth every single year. So they give me inspiration every single day and every single week. I'm so privileged to be able to, work with the young people that way. They give me great vibrations and energy, for sure.
The creative process for Testament really just starts from a vibe.
It's something that is constantly changing and evolving and growing. Like, I don't have one particular go-to way. I'm very much an energy person, a vibe guy. So when the vibe hits me, I try and get it. So, you know, whether I'm in the car and I got to take a voice note, or I'm at home and I actually have time to be in the studio, or maybe I was listening to something or meditating and, you know, the energy really comes to me. So, like, I don't really have like a one specific way, but it has to be a good vibration. You know, I'm inspired by so many different music genres and so many people in our world that have gone before us and are also here currently in these communities doing great work. So, you know, it doesn't take much to set me off, to be honest with you. You know, I'm inspired by life and all the things around. So, you know, I am a writer first. I love getting into the music production and that aspect of it. But firstly, I'm really thinking about what is the concept I want to convey. And, you know, as an MC, I'm always trying to outdo the last verse that I wrote. You know, I want to write something that, you know, only those that know would know the subtle intricacies that I've altered and changed. Maybe it's the breath control, the wordplay. You know, I really like thinking about those things, like the details of how my message is going to come across. And, you know, I love telling stories. I'm a storyteller. So for me, it's also, you know, sometimes it's really abstract, but how can I create a story that is relatable and even challenges people at times? So
we rocked a bit and then I said it rather calmly. I know we just met, but I want to build.
The pandemic largely impacted Testament's work, but he was able to find the silver lining.
Largely, you know, and I know so many of us have been going with so much, you know, but me personally, you know, the pandemic's been actually incredibly great for my artwork. I've had a lot more time to sort of block out the noise. You know, the veil of the world has come down, and a lot of us are taking time to really reflect on self. And it was great for me because, you know, being an artist, being an entrepreneur, you know, prior to the pandemic, like, I literally lived on the road. Whether I was traveling or whether I was in the local community, I was just on the road, whipping, always. And I loved it. It was great. But with all this extra time on my hand, I've realized I have more clarity of thought. I actually try different things. I've picked up more instruments, trying to work on the overall craft. The thought process that I have in terms of how I approach my work has also changed because life is not the same anymore, so for me personally, tapping into some of my emotions, trying to be a little bit more vulnerable, the different conversations that I'm having with my children, my friends, other people in the community really sort of influence my thought process. And because I have more time to think about things, I feel that I've actually gotten even more creative. And I would say I'm a very creative person. I love putting art out there. My whole life's work is to sort of create. But, this opportunity and time, I feel that, great challenges provide great opportunity. And it's also a reflection of just some of the personal things that I've done in my life. I've wanted to step up my fitness. I wanted to step up my financial knowledge. I want to step up my overall understanding of what's going on in the world. I'm reading more. I'm studying more. And I think these are things that are absolutely showing up in my art for sure. In a positive way. Of course, as I said, we've all been faced with sort of some of these challenges that we've been dealing with. And I've been able to document that, as an artist. I don't try and limit myself in terms of like, okay, I'm a hip hop artist, I can only drop it in this genre, right? Like maybe I actually really want to talk about the challenges of being a parent or the struggles of being a Black man. And I think that I've been able to capture things a lot more during this time. Again, just sort of speaking to a lot more access to time where I can say, okay, I'm literally not out driving on the road. I can go and capture this in the studio or put the idea down in a more concrete way. So for me, it's been an extremely positive enhancement to my creative side.
I said you gotta get up, stand up. Mama told me that I gotta man up.
Testament is excited and preparing for the new normal where he can serve the community in the way it needs.
I am not of the mindset that the world is going to go back to exactly the way that it was. What I mean by that is I do believe there are things that are going to be similar, but I believe the world has already changed. We're living in an entirely different environment, whether you come from, like myself, an entrepreneurial background, or you live the corporate life, or whatever the case may be. There's been a lot of things that have been brought to the forefront in terms of a society. And what I really say to people, and I say this to myself also, is I'm not going to get caught wishing for a world that doesn't exist anymore. I want to be prepared for the world that is here and what is to come. So for me, it's about really tapping into the youth. As I mentioned, a lot of my work has me plugging into the young people. I love their ideas. I love their innovation, and it inspires me. I often go to the young people to get feedback on new projects that I'm working on, right? So utilizing their mindset and their ideas, because they're a lot more into the internet and the online and that sort of analysis. So for me, really plugging in is the way that I'm preparing for the future, gaining more knowledge. We're living in a world that's going like this. You click of a button, you can gather any information. There is no longer any excuse to be ignorant. Ignorant meaning we just don't know. But if we don't know something, it's a quick Google search away as long as you have access to the internet. So for me, my preparation is making sure that mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, I'm trying to get to the best possible place that I can be, not only for myself and my immediate family, but also how I can serve the world and the community, right? Because one thing we're realizing is we need people. We need each other. This is about coming together, right? And for me, it's all about how I could be a representative and also an addition to the community that I live, work, and play in.
Ancestors, they got stalked and then beheaded.
If Testament's music was put into a capsule today and someone dug it up 50 years from now, here's how he would want that person to feel.
I would want them to look at my work and be like, wow, this person really has a lot of passion. Whether or not they agree with my perspective, I want them to be able to feel what it is that I created. The reason we watch movies, the reason we watch shows, the reason we listen to music or listen to particular speakers is because we relate to something that they're conveying. I want people to feel the passion coming off of me and know that this is genuine, that this is authentic. But most importantly, I want them to be inspired to take action in their own life, right? because this whole world can only thrive if it's you and I working together, you know? So I'm inspired by this over here. I'm inspired by that over there. So I take some energy from that and I keep it moving. And that's what I hope people would do if they looked at my stuff in a time capsule. They'd be like, oh my goodness, this dude was doing this all the way back then, trying to push it out there. Oh, that aligns with what I'm trying to do. Man, I'm going to take some motivation and I'm going to run with that as well and create something for the future.
My favorite type. I'm trying to pass the torch to the youngest. The flame is bright. Excellence, that's what I'm aiming for. A stay in sight. Okay. Excellence, the meaning of black, and that's day and night. Yeah, but that's just how I roll. My ancestors attacking my soul.
Yo, they say he light skin, he nothing like them. Yeah. He not as frightening, man. It's hard to not spite them. If you're closer to white skin, more harder to get in. Never wanted to fit in, cause man, people different.
They say he dark skinned, curse from the start, man. Okay. Don't live in a house now, grew up on apartments, smoke on the park bench. They thinking he quite foul. The books that you reading, I'm living that right now.
Black is beautiful, black don't crack.